What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have the first moves that the Red Sox made for this 2023 offseason. They made a couple of moves this week, and I don't think it was the moves that anyone was expecting them to make, but either way, they've started to transition to improving their 2023 club, and that's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about all the moves the Red Sox made this week, what it means for the current Red Sox team, and what it could possibly mean for this 2023 offseason. But before I get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. The Red Sox made two separate moves this week, and while they aren't super groundbreaking, crazy moves, they're definitely pretty interesting and something we should talk about. The first move that happened this week was on Wednesday, where the Red Sox picked up Caleb Hamilton from the Minnesota Twins. Caleb Hamilton is a catcher first baseman who really hasn't spent a ton of time in the majors. In fact, in 2022, he only got 18 at-bats where he hit .056 for an average. Not exactly fantastic, but it's a small sample size, so I'm not going to hold it against him fully. In 2022, he spent most of his time in the minor leagues with the Twins AAA club, where he had an average of .233, an OPS of .808, and 11 home runs in 206 at-bats. Not great, not terrible, and to be honest with you, this move is more than likely just a depth piece move. There is a very small possibility that Hamilton is on this major league roster come opening day. For the most part, in my opinion, Hamilton will be sort of a quadruple A guy who comes up when we really need someone on that roster, on that bench, injuries, DFAs, stuff like that. He can come in and he can fill that role, but he's definitely not going to be a major part of this 2023 team. I would be absolutely shocked if he made the opening day roster. He 99.99% won't. The move to get Hamilton was kind of interesting, but the move to put him onto the roster, in my opinion, was the most interesting part of this transaction. And to make room for him on the roster, the Red Sox designated Abraham Almonte for assignment. This was kind of surprising to me, one, because it's kind of sad, right? This community during the live streams really grew to love Abraham Almonte. There was a little bit of a fan club growing at the end of the year, so to see him go kind of sucks for our community, but also because he was relatively productive for this Red Sox team at the major league level. In 2022, he finished with a .257 average and a .697 OPS with the Sox this year. I'm not saying this dude needed a starting spot on this team by any means, but I kind of liked him as that sort of quadruple A player that I'm assuming Hamilton's going to be for this Red Sox team. He's a good depth piece, and he's a switch hitter, which allowed for a little bit of wiggle room on that bench when people got injured and we need bodies on that bench. So I'm kind of surprised they let him go. I kind of hope that he clears waivers and stays with this club, because again, I think there is a little bit of a future here with Almonte, just to be that sort of quadruple A taxi squad type guy. And to celebrate Abraham Almonte's time with the Boston Red Sox, I put together a little highlight reel of him playing the outfield for this team. Okay, that was pretty mean, I know, but still, I'm gonna miss Abraham Almonte because he was just absolutely hilarious to watch, and he did actually have some pretty good ABs for this Red Sox team. The other move the Red Sox made was to pick up reliever Jake Reed from the Baltimore Orioles off of waivers. Jake Reed had a little bit of a rough go of it in the major leagues for the Orioles this year, with an ERA of 6.35 in 8 appearances with the O's this year. It's not a huge sample size like Hamilton, so I'm not going to fully hold it against him. But one thing that is super interesting about Jake Reed's statistics this year is that his FIP is much lower than his ERA. He finished the year with a FIP of 2.34. So maybe there is something there that the Orioles were just kind of missing with Jake Reed. Normally when a guy has an ERA that's much higher than his FIP, it means that he was very unlucky on the mound this year. Now there are a couple interesting things about Jake Reed outside of his statistics. One is his windup, right? He has one of the most unique windups in all of baseball. He almost like winds up his arm to throw the ball, and that could be deceptive for hitters. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. The other is that he spent 2022 with 3 different teams. He was on the Dodgers, he was on the Mets, Mets, and he was on the Orioles, so he's a little bit of a journeyman when it comes to relievers. I don't know, maybe there's something here, right? We talked about his FIP, we talked about the angle that he releases the ball. There could be something here for Jake Reed. Now again, like Hamilton, I don't think that this is going to solve the solution for the Red Sox bullpen. I think for the most part, again, this is another depth move that I could see him kind of spending most of the time in the minors while making some appearances in the majors to sort of help out and fill roles. Maybe he does end up being a decent option for, you know, coming up and going down a couple of times this year to really fill in with guys in this bullpen, but I don't expect him to be a mainstay in this Red Sox bullpen for 2023 or beyond. But then again, I said the same thing about John Schreiber, so what do I know? That's why I make videos. I don't control the roster. Again, the more interesting part of this pickup was the person that they DFA'd to make room for him on the roster, and that is Edward Bizzardo. Now, Edward Bizzardo had a little bit of a rough go of it in the major leagues. He finished with an ERA of 2.76, which is pretty good, to be honest with you. It's not bad at all, especially coming up later in the year from that bullpen and spending most of the year in AAA. But the interesting thing about Bizzardo is he is the exact opposite FIP situation that Jake Reed had. His FIP is way higher than his ERA. His FIP is currently sitting at 6.05, which, like Jake Reed, indicates that he was probably pretty lucky on the mound this year, and maybe that's what the Red Sox saw and decided to DFA him anyways. Because usually when a FIP is that high, it means that he was super lucky and that his pitching wasn't extremely effective. He just had decent defense behind him. Still, I kind of thought, like Almonte, that Bizzardo would be a depth piece for this team. Again, another guy who could come up when people get injured and stuff like that. But if Jake Reed really was that unlucky on the mound, he may be a better option going forward to be that kind of depth piece for this Red Sox team. At the end of the day, these moves aren't super groundbreaking, right? This isn't going to be the difference maker between the Red Sox winning the World Series in 2023 and not making the playoffs in 2023, right? They're mostly depth moves. It's all depth moves, to be honest with you, but it's still super interesting because it indicates that the Red Sox are starting to take a look at their depth pieces on this Red Sox team and really trying to trim the fat. They're trying to figure out who can help this team going forward and who they think is going to be a detriment to this team, because we learned, especially in 2022, that depth is super important for a major league club. Injuries are going to happen. Injuries are going to happen a lot, apparently, with the 2022 club, and the depth pieces on this team are going to have to carry you a little bit at some point during the season. It's just simply inevitable. So hopefully this is a good sign. Hopefully this is a sign that they're taking an in-depth look at the Red Sox roster and they're really trying to determine who can be a successful player on this team and who they need to move off of. Hopefully this is setting up some more trimming the fat sort of moves coming in the next couple of weeks before the madness of free agency begins. Let me know in the comment section down below. What did you think? What do you think of all this? Again, obviously these moves aren't super huge, but they are the first moves of this Red Sox offseason. So what do you think? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Do you wish they did more? Do you wish they did less? Let me know all your thoughts down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like I said at the beginning, if you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. On top of that, you made it to the end of this video, you might as well hit that sub button. You also might as well hit that like button as well. It helps these videos out a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Sea.